My best friend, as a child, my friend Carol Ann tells a story quite often. You see, Carol Ann was a little girl, quite young. She was with her mother at their family vacation spot. Think up north, yet it wasn't because it was in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's up north. Carol Ann was with her mother, Carolyn, at the family farm. Carolyn and Carol Ann were sitting in the dining room, and Carolyn was pointing out the characters who dotted the family photos that adorn the hallway walls. Those old black and white photos, tinged in age yellow and gray, the sepia photos, with the people posed just right, usually in their Sunday best, dignified, upright, and esteemed. Carolyn said to Carol Ann, "This is your great, great, great Uncle Dick," as Carolyn described the photo. And without hesitation, Carol Ann replied, "I don't think he's so great." Oh, out of the mouth of babes. I don't think he is so great. Which begs the question for today then, who is the greatest? This was the debate of the disciples, of brothers James and John. If you have ever been around brothers, you know that this debate strikes us as oh so true. It reminds me of that own personal debate or spoof that my sister and I engage in. My sister Shelby and I are so much alike. Many on first glance take us for twins. I assure you, when I roll into Rapid City, South Dakota tomorrow and go to the grocery store, I will get all sorts of odd glances and half nods. They think I'm Shelby. So when people see us together, they inevitably ask, "Are you twins?" "No, we're just sisters," we say. But we have a little routine, a little pattern. I start the retort, "I am older." Shelby replies, "I am taller." I come back, "I am smarter." And Shelby ends with, "I am prettier." So who is the greatest? My mom, I think she would be the wiseacre. Actually, neither of them are so great. I am the greatest, I would imagine my mom saying. So who is the greatest? Our gospel story today really hinges on this phenomena, that of our declaration of greatness. Remember last week we heard the beginning of the story in which Jesus asked Peter who the disciples were saying that he, Jesus, was. And Peter gushes, you are the Messiah. Namely, Peter calls Jesus the greatest, for that was the idea behind the disciples' understanding of the Messiah, a strong, dominant, and victorious leader who would overcome the tyrannical Roman powers. Jesus quickly disabuses his disciples of this definition, this desire. Instead, Jesus says that he is destined for destruction, subjugation, ridicule, certainly nothing great. And this week, as we read the gospel, Jesus doubles down. The Son of Man is to be betrayed into human hands, and they will kill him. And 3 days after being killed, he will rise again. So, who is the greatest? None of what Jesus says complies with the greatest Messiah standards that the disciples hold. Okay. Yet then James and John double down on their end. They give up grappling with the greatness of Jesus and they try on that mantle themselves. They argue among themselves who is older, taller, smarter, prettier. Namely, who is the greatest. Sometimes it takes a child to say, "You are not that great." Like my childhood friend Carol Ann. "This is your great, great, great Uncle Dick." And Carol Ann says, "I don't think he's that great." So what are we left with from this gospel story? This continuation of of Jesus trying to tell his disciples who he really thinks that he is. Where are we in this story? Unfortunately for us today, I'm not certain that that news is so good. Even more so than the disciples and the children that surround Jesus, even more so, today we really have the haves and the have-nots. I mean, just look at the news this week. The question is, do we get a booster, a third vaccine? When many other nations and peoples without the resources of our powerful nation and great nation have none. And out of New York, what about the Metropolitan Ball, the Met Ball? This fundraiser in New York where the guest pays hundreds, thousands to dress up and have photo ops. The news is about a congresswoman who wears a designer dress designed to suggest that the greatest should pay the most. Namely, the message, tax the rich. Unless we think it is only about the other people across the world or in New York, here amongst us, who is the greatest? This is something that I think all of us put on our Lexion as a way of making ourselves feel older and taller and smarter and prettier. Who is the greatest? The answer may lay in putting ourselves alongside Jesus and getting curious and really listening. Jesus keeps talking about his journey to Jerusalem with his disciples. And my friends, we have the advantage of knowing the story. We already have the pictures, sepia, gray and yellowed, with Jesus hanging on the cross for us. And the question remains, who is the greatest? Out of the mouth of babes comes, I am not certain he is the greatest, but perhaps Jesus is the Messiah. Amen.